Because the WNBA corrected this one flagrant, blatant, disgusting foul and play by Alyssa Thomas, all of a sudden a new hate campaign, a new smear campaign has been launched.
There is a brutal, undeniable reality about the WNBA's officiating apparatus that the people who actually run this league desperately try to hide from every single fan who pays attention to this sport. The identities of all 34 WNBA referees have been leaked, publicly posted, first and last names. And the question that nobody inside the establishment wants to answer out loud is the one that every honest person watching this game has been sitting with for months. Are some of these officials betting on the games they are calling? We do not know the answer yet, but we now have the names. And after what we have watched happen to Caitlin Clark, 0 free throws in games where other stars shoot 20+ from the charity stripe, you cannot tell me with a straight face that the question does not deserve to be asked. Welcome back. This is Rim Run, and today we are ripping the doors off the most dangerous conversation the establishment refuses to let you have.
Okay, here it says, as controversy swirls over Alyssa Thomas' one-game suspension, I reached out to WNBA Executive Director Terry Jackson asking this: is it punishable for your fist in another player's throat or is it not? Players Union spokesman said the WNBA respectfully declines comment.
Before I get into the full breakdown of what was leaked, what Christine Brennan just exposed about the WNBA's silence, and what the Alyssa Thomas suspension cover-up actually reveals about who this league protects, I need you to understand one thing that every other outlet is completely skipping over. The WNBA Players Association, the Women's National Basketball Players Association, has also refused to stand behind Caitlin Clark after the brutal, blatant attack she absorbed. The Players Union, the organization that is supposed to protect every single woman in this league, they went quiet. They stayed silent. And that silence is going to matter enormously by the time we get to the 9-minute mark of this video, because I am going to connect that silence directly to the question of who benefits when Caitlin Clark is not protected. Stay with me. Every single detail I am about to lay out is connected. This is not separate stories. This is one story, and I have been documenting pieces of it for weeks now, and today it all comes together.
This is what I'm talking about when I said they just was using her. You see what Emmanuel Acho said, oh, they got what they need out of her. They don't need her around anymore. You see what's going on. They used her up.
Let me lay out the concrete evidence for every single person watching this video, because you deserve to see exactly what was put into the public domain and exactly what it means. First anchor. According to a post from the Twitter account power_ties, which has been circulating widely, the full list of all 34 official referees of the WNBA has been publicly identified. First names, last names, all of them, out in the open. The post framed these officials in a damning way, describing them as existing, quote, like referees in a 1940s roller derby league, there to give an air of legitimacy to the infliction of violence. That is the framing that is circulating. That is what people who watch this league every single night are saying about the officials who are supposed to be protecting the players on that court. Second anchor. We have seen games, documented, on tape, undeniable, where Caitlin Clark shoots 0 free throws. 0. And in those same stretches of this season, we have seen Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson shoot 20+ free throws in a single game. 20+. I want every single person watching this video to sit with that disparity for a second. 0 versus 20+. Those are not random outcomes. Those are outcomes that are shaped by officiating decisions. And when the identities of those officials are now public, the question of what is motivating their decisions becomes impossible to ignore. Third anchor. The sports betting context is not theoretical, it is documented. 9-year NBA veteran Malik Beasley was indicted on federal charges for a gambling-related sports betting scheme involving point shaving and prop bets. His attorney Steve Haney confirmed to ESPN that the government was coordinating a voluntary surrender. This is real. This happened. And the specific mechanism Beasley allegedly used was prop bet manipulation, over/under lines on individual statistical categories, like rebounds. According to reporting on the case, Beasley allegedly shaved points across 4 games: Bucks versus Cavaliers, Bucks versus Hornets, Bucks versus Clippers, Bucks versus Nets. In the Clippers game, a group of bettors took the over on his rebounds and cashed. 2 seconds left in that game, Beasley grabbed his 4th rebound. He had a 3.5 rebound prop that day. 2 seconds left, 4th rebound. You tell me that is a coincidence. Now, and I want you to listen closely here, Malik Beasley was making 8-figure money, 8 figures, and he still allegedly did this. WNBA referees are not making 8 figures. They are not making anywhere close to 8 figures. If a player with that kind of financial security was allegedly manipulating outcomes for prop bet money, what is the logical conclusion when you look at officials who earn a fraction of that and who have now been shown on tape to be making calls that consistently disadvantage the most marketable, most watched player in the entire league? I am not saying they are guilty. I am saying the question is legitimate, and I am saying nobody with a television platform is willing to ask it. That is what Rim Run is here for. Fourth anchor. The technical foul double standard is documented, and it is insane. These same officials gave Caitlin Clark a technical foul, on camera, called, enforced. But I watched Paige Buchers clap at an opponent. No technical foul, none. I watched another player clap directly at officials. No technical foul, none. The standard is not being applied equally. It is being applied selectively. And the selectivity always seems to run in the same direction, against Caitlin Clark. Fifth anchor. According to a post from a Pacers Fever fan account that has been picking up significant traction, Caitlin Clark has had more flagrant fouls committed against her than any other player since she entered this league. More than any other player, and the vast majority of those fouls went uncalled. The WNBA finally reviewed one play, involving Alyssa Thomas, and issued a 1-game suspension, 1 game, for a foul that, according to reporting, involved a fist to another player's throat. 1 game. Don't take my word for it on what happened next. The reaction from the establishment said everything. Watch this.
Because the WNBA corrected this one flagrant, blatant, disgusting foul and play by Alyssa Thomas, all of a sudden a new hate campaign, a new smear campaign has been launched.
She said it, with cameras rolling and the receipts right there in front of everyone. Let me say it back to you in case you missed exactly what just happened. The single moment that the WNBA finally corrected one of the countless flagrant, blatant, disgusting fouls committed against Caitlin Clark, a brand new smear campaign launched immediately, right in front of our eyes. Not a conversation about the foul, not accountability for the pattern, a smear campaign in protection of Alyssa Thomas. That is what the establishment does when you try to hold it accountable. It does not defend the standard. It attacks the person who benefited from the standard being enforced. That is not a league that is operating in good faith. That is a league that is operating in sabotage mode against its own biggest star. And I told you this was coming. 3 weeks ago, I made a video breaking down the pattern of how this league responds every single time Caitlin Clark gets protected even once. The footage is in that video, go check it. Because what we just watched happen in real time is exactly what I described.
Okay, here it says, as controversy swirls over Alyssa Thomas' 1-game suspension, I reached out to WNBA Executive Director Terry Jackson asking this: is it punishable for your fist in another player's throat, or is it not? Players Union spokesman said the WNBA respectfully declines comment.
Now let me escalate this for you, because the evidence goes deeper than the surface-level foul count and the biased officiating. Let me walk through 4 layers of what is actually happening here, because each one is more damning than the last. Pass 1. The tactical failure of the officiating in specific incidents involving Caitlin Clark is not ambiguous. It is documented, it is on tape, and it follows a pattern that defies statistical probability. We are talking about games where Caitlin Clark, the player drawing the most attention from opposing defenses, the player being physically targeted more than any other player in the league according to the flagrant foul data, goes to the free throw line 0 times, 0, while players on the other side of the court are shooting 20+ free throws in the same game. You guys already know what the free throw line represents in basketball. It represents the referee's judgment about which player is being fouled while attempting to score. When that judgment produces a 0 versus 20 disparity involving the most attacked player in the league, that is not a judgment call. That is a structural failure. And when the officials responsible for that failure have now had their identities publicly leaked, and when we exist in a sports landscape where a 9-year NBA veteran was just federally indicted for manipulating prop bet outcomes through exactly the kind of subtle statistical manipulation that a referee could also influence, you cannot tell me that the question of motive does not need to be asked. That is not commentary. That is not a reach. That is sabotage of the integrity conversation that this league desperately needs to have. And it is not happening on television. It is happening right here. Pass 2. This is not the first time. I have been documenting this for months, and every single one of those predictions has come true. Let me give you 3 specific instances of the same pattern. 1. Caitlin Clark received a technical foul for a reaction that by any objective standard was less demonstrative than what multiple other players have done on that same court without consequence. The double standard was called out at the time. Nothing changed. 2. The pattern of uncalled flagrant fouls against Caitlin Clark was flagged by multiple observers throughout the season. The league acknowledged it only when public pressure became impossible to ignore, and even then, they issued one game. 1. 3. The smear campaign that launched the moment Elisa Thomas was suspended followed the exact same playbook as every previous attempt to deflect accountability in this league. Attack the beneficiary of the ruling. Protect the person who committed the foul. Manufacture a narrative about victimhood for the aggressor. 3 incidents, 3 identical responses. 3 times Caitlin Clark paid the price for the league's refusal to protect her consistently. 3. Let that sink in. Pass 3. The enabler complicity in this situation goes all the way up the chain. Let me be entirely clear with you about who has been covering for this pattern. The WNBA Players Association. The Women's National Basketball Players Association did not stand behind Caitlin Clark after the brutal attack by Elisa Thomas. The organization that exists to protect players stayed silent. That is documented. The WNBA Executive Office, led by Executive Director Kathy Engelbert, whose office was directly contacted by journalist Christine Brennan, declined to answer a simple, direct question. Christine Brennan reached out and asked, "Is it punishable to put your fist in another player's throat, or is it not?" The Players Union spokesman responded that the WNBA respectfully declines comment on whether punching a player in the throat is punishable. And the mainstream sports media, which should be applying pressure to get that question answered, has largely moved on, or worse, participated in the smear campaign against Caitlin Clark by platforming the narrative that her protection is somehow unfair to other players. Every single one of them stayed silent on the real question. Receipts coming. Pass 4. I want every single person watching this video to understand what Caitlin Clark has actually lost because of this institutional failure. She has absorbed more flagrant fouls than any other player in this league since she arrived, according to the data that is circulating, and the vast majority of those fouls went uncalled in real time. That means she has played through physical targeting that was not penalized, which means opposing teams receive no disincentive to continue targeting her. She has played in games where she shot 0 free throws, 0, while being the player most aggressively guarded on the court. She has watched a 1-game suspension, the first meaningful accountability measure the league has taken on her behalf, immediately trigger a coordinated smear campaign designed to make the accountability look like the problem. And through all of this, the Players Association that is supposed to have her back has said nothing. The executive office has said nothing. The mainstream coverage has largely said nothing. That is what Caitlin Clark's prime is being burned for. An institutional silence that serves everyone except the most important player this league has ever had. And here is the receipt that nobody on television will play for you, because of what it proves about who actually has power in this conversation.
This is what I'm talking about when I said they just was using her. You see what Emmanuel Acho said, oh, they got what they need out of her. They don't need her around anymore. You see what's going on. They used her up.
Let me say that back to you in the harshest and most accurate framing possible. Christine Brennan, a journalist with credibility, went directly to the WNBA's executive office and asked a binary question. Is it punishable to put your fist in another player's throat, or is it not? That is not a complicated question. That is a yes or no question. And the answer she received was, the WNBA respectfully declines comment on whether violence against a player is punishable. After Caitlin Clark helped this league secure a transformational collective bargaining agreement, after she brought eyeballs and revenue and a national conversation to a league that was fighting for its survival, the league's response to a journalist asking whether her physical safety is protected is no comment. That is not an oversight. That is a deliberate, calculated, juteless institutional choice. And I have been saying for months that the people at the top of this organization need to be held accountable. I said it during the CBA negotiations, and I am saying it again right now. This is not a new position. The receipts are in my previous videos. Go look. Before I lay out the full verdict, you need to hear this one last clip, because of what it proves about how the league responds when accountability finally arrives. They got what they needed out of her. That is the framing that is circulating among people who watch this league closely. Caitlin Clark helped deliver a transformational CBA, a new collective bargaining agreement that gave every player in this league better pay, better conditions, better futures, and the moment that CBA was secured, the institutional protection for Caitlin Clark evaporated. The league got what it needed. And now, when the most important player in the sport needs the institution to stand up and say clearly that violence against her is unacceptable and that the officiating of her games will be held to the same standard as every other player, the institution goes silent. That is the transaction that was made. And every single person watching this video needs to understand it, because it explains every single thing that has happened since. Now let me give you the 5 predictions. These are staked, these are on record. Come back and hold me to them. Prediction 1. The WNBA's executive leadership, specifically the office that declined to answer Christine Brennan's direct question about whether physical violence against a player is punishable, will face a formal accountability moment before the end of this calendar year. Whether that takes the form of a public demand from a major media outlet, a congressional inquiry into sports betting integrity that sweeps in officiating oversight, or an internal league review triggered by the volume of documented officiating inconsistencies, this cannot stay buried. If the leadership of this league is still operating without any public accountability by the end of this season, I want every single person watching this video to come back to this comment section and roast me. I mean that. Save this clip. Prediction 2. Caitlin Clark is going to respond to all of this the only way she knows how, on the court. And what we are going to see from her in the next significant stretch of games is a performance that makes the conversation about whether she is being protected irrelevant, because the level of play will be so undeniable that even the officials who have been looking the other way will not be able to suppress what she is doing. She has absorbed everything this league has thrown at her, and she has kept playing. That is not going to stop. Save this clip. Prediction 3. The public identification of all 34 WNBA referees, their first and last names, now circulating widely, is going to trigger a formal response from the league that they have been avoiding. The WNBA cannot pretend the list does not exist. It is out there, and the finns så is det out there. Moment a journalist with a national platform connects the documented officiating disparities in Caitlin Clark's games to the broader sports betting integrity conversation that is already happening at the federal level, with Malik Beasley's indictment as the most recent example. The league is going to be forced to address the officiating question directly. Watch the next 2 weeks. Prediction 4. The story is going to break wide open when a major sports journalism outlet, one with the resources to do the statistical analysis on officiating patterns across Caitlin Clark's games this season, runs the piece they are already sitting on. The data on free throw disparity, on uncalled flagrant fouls, on technical foul application. That data is documentable. It exists in the box scores, and a journalist with the platform of Christine Brennan, who has already shown she is willing to ask the direct question, is going to be part of the conversation that forces this into the mainstream. Mark this video. Prediction 5. This season ends with the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark making a deep postseason run that reframes the entire narrative. Not because the institutional failures disappear, but because the performance on the court becomes impossible to contextualize around anything other than how good Caitlin Clark actually is. And when that happens, the question of why this league spent so much energy not protecting her is going to be even louder, not quieter. The playoff run is coming. The accountability conversation is coming with it. Mark this video. And right now, in this moment, while the establishment is declining comment and the Players Association is staying silent and the smear campaign is running in real time, Caitlin Clark is still showing up, still playing, still being the most important thing that has happened to this league in its entire history. That is who she is. And no amount of institutional cowardice changes that. Here is what I need from you right now, and I am asking all 3 of these things directly. Layer 1. Drop your most honest take in the comments. Is the officiating disparity in Caitlin Clark's games the result of deliberate, coordinated bias, or is there another explanation that actually holds up when you look at the free throw numbers and the flagrant foul data? Pick a side. Defend it. I want to read every single take. Layer 2. While you are down there, save this comment. Prediction 3. A major national outlet runs the officiating data piece before the season ends. and it forces the WNBA to respond publicly to the question of referee accountability. If I am right, come back and tell me. If I am wrong, roast me in the comments. I will be there. Layer 3. Tag the friend who keeps telling you that the officiating criticism is just noise and that Caitlin Clark's situation is being exaggerated. Make them watch this video. Make them look at the Christine Brennan exchange. Make them explain the Players Association's silence. And then tell me they still believe it. And here is what is coming next on this channel. Tomorrow we are going to break down the full CBA impact. Specifically what Caitlin Clark's market value contributed to the deal the Players Association just signed, and why the silence from that same association after the Elisa Thomas incident is one of the most revealing things that has happened in women's basketball in years. If you are not subscribed, you are going to miss it. Hit the bell right now. This is Rimrun. We will see you in the next video.